Listen to that. Zilcherino. Oh, it's just gorgeous, isn't it? You know what I was thinking about today? I was thinking I want to make this video about this, I suppose, is the meditation of landscape photography that we all know so much about. It's probably, you know, the reason why so many of us do it, or, you know, one of the big reasons it definitely is for me, you know. I'll tell you what, let's walk and talk. You know what it is for me with landscape photography is it's like a constant. It's like a constant part of my life. How do I put this? That I can always rely on. You know, it's always here, and it's always constant, and it's always consistent. In that, whenever I'm out with my camera, today's a perfect example. I am so present. Meditation. I am so present. You know, with all that is going on in this world, constantly. You know, that is so negative. We're bombarded with stuff, you know, on the news, and we feel responsible for so much that's going on in the world, or I do at least, you know. And then on top of that, you know, your own personal problems. You've always got this. You've always got it. And you might come out and get nothing. Zero photographs, you know, go back with nothing on your memory card. But it's still quality. And I think that has to be like the best thing about landscape photography for me, is that consistency, that constant, you know. And even if I come home disappointed with my photographs or something, it still doesn't change the fact that I've been out, you know, and I've forgotten about the world for 2 or 3 hours, however long I might be out. And that is truly my meditation. It really is, because my mind is not elsewhere like it is, you know, even if I'm sat on my laptop on my computer or somewhere at home, just traverse through this fallen tree, you know, your head's going. You're always thinking about other things, and I don't know, I think this is one of the only times in my own life where I am truly present. And I'm so grateful for that, you know, landscape photography. All right, let's have a little wander around. We'll chat about today's location in a minute. So one thing I do talk about quite often on my videos is not just the meditative side of landscape photography, but in fact, like the various different emotions that you can get from it. You know, it's such a gift. Like, you know, if you watch me, there's times when I'm out and I'm absolutely buzzing, running around the place like a child. You know, there's other times where you might have a bit of a negative emotion, you know. I'm only saying that just to try and explain the sort of the range that you get of different emotions. And today is one of them where I just feel so chilled out. Yeah, you know, it's not just that you allow landscape photography allows you to feel present in the moment. It's also you know, it's like a sport or something, all the different emotions that you can get. It's just so special. So today I've decided to try and tune in to the calm, chilled out emotions a little bit more. And I've come to a different location. As you can tell, a bit of woodland. I'm in the forest of Bowland, in a forest called Gisborne Forest, and we've got the woodland, of course, as you can see, and then we're going to have a bit of a reservoir, perhaps a couple of waterfalls. And yeah, I just fancied a little bit, something a little bit different from the open fells. You know, in my last video, as much as I absolutely love it, and I do, in my last video I was explaining a lot about composition. And I remember saying something along the lines of, you know, it's as simple as you're going to get when you're out on the fells, because there's no trees, there's no mess, and you're just pretty much exclusively dealing with shapes, aren't you? Whereas somewhere like this, for me, you know, from my experience, is opposite end of the scale. It's a lot more difficult. And I think, you know, I just fancied the challenge as well, more than anything, with my photography. So I'm going to keep on heading down this beautiful looking path here, and you know, think about anything and everything. You know, intimate photography, something I definitely don't do enough of. Look at all the mosses that you can see, absolutely gorgeous, and just see where the afternoon takes me. I just took a tumble, and that, ladies and gents, is the end of the meditation. No, not really, but I did just get battered. Hang on, let me just show you my pant. Whoa! Living the dream. Look at it, it's proper steep. I was at the top looking down thinking, probably shouldn't, but can you see in the background there? That's the gold. That's why I've come down here. I just couldn't figure out another way down. So hopefully this is worth the little trip I've just been on. So you know what? I'm going to say it. It was worth the tumble down the hill and the muddy botty. There we go, look at that. It was worth it because this is such a cool subject. And all I was doing, to be honest, as I was wandering around this forest, was using the OS maps on my phone. And I found a beck. And then I just followed this beck on the maps and it said waterfall. So I just thought, well, you know, that's worth investigating. Had myself a little tumble down the hill and here I am. But yeah, what a subject. You can probably tell from even looking at it there. 100% is worth a photograph. So what I've done, guys, is probably just like, I suppose in line with the video, except from the tumble down the hill, it's been quite chilled out and I felt quite chilled out, you know. So I've just tried to carry that on and took my time framing this up. From this perspective, I think this is going to be the best composition. It's very simple, but all I've got is the lower falls down here in the bottom right of my frame, and then the falls down off in the background on the top left of the frame. So it's just like a nice diagonal from right to left, you know. So simple. And all I've done, what did I zoom in at? Yeah, looking about 45 mils, something like that. And I've just zoomed in slightly so that I'm not just shooting the whole scene behind me as you can see it. Like, there's no point in shooting it wide. Just honed in a little bit, you know. All that I really want in this photograph, you know, is the two waterfalls and then a little bit of the environment, you know, the beck that's going to help us to lead up to the backfalls and this sort of small gorge that we're in here. That is it. Now, as I always say with waterfalls, shutter speed, so important. I took the first shots at 1 second, hated it. It's just my personal opinion. And I've gone for 1/4 of a second, which I think is always my like go-to with waterfalls. You know, it's always dependent on how fast the water's moving. It's also very dependent on your personal opinion as well. It's very subjective. But if you're a beginner, I'd urge you to try maybe 1/4 of a second and see how you like it. You know, that seems to be the one that I tend to go for. Other than that, I'm at ISO 64 f8 and 1/4 of a second, like I said, because I'm at f8, I've really, you know, I'm being a bit pedantic about my focus. So I have focus stacked about 4 shots throughout the depth of the scene, you know. But yeah, I think it's going to be pretty decent, and I hope you like it. So just before I move on from this location, I'm just grabbing another photograph of these falls. Now I wanted this one to be a little bit different from the first one. I didn't see the point in sort of coming to the middle and shooting quite wide again, just from a different perspective. So what I'm doing is I've actually zoomed in around about 150 mil. You can see here there's quite a lot of depth in between the first falls here and the ones right off in the background, probably about 15, 20 meters or something. So zooming across them like that looks almost quite abstract. And because I'm quite tight in as well, in a portrait dimension, as you can see down there, it means we haven't got any of the branches or even any of the cliffs on the left or on the right hand side of this little gorge here, which is really cool. So I'd say it's almost a little bit abstract, and it's all about capturing the movement of the water and the depth of the scene really. So the settings are exactly the same, ISO 64 f8 and 1/4 of a second, which again here is so important. I love the way that the water looks, you know, at 1/4 of a second. And that's it, I think. Polarize is still doing the same job, getting rid of some of the glare in the black rocks. That's that. So the rain started falling down. I tell you what, oh, so chilled out. This is just absolutely class. So I feel quite keen to get back and look at them waterfall photographs. I have taken a route that's took me back through the woodland, but to be honest, there's nothing else to say other than I'm just not really feeling it. I'm feeling proper chilled out. I don't want to put pressure on myself to try and find another photograph. You know, plus on top of that, this is just so much harder, you know, for me at least. I spend the vast majority of my time out in the open fells, like I said at the start of the video. And in my opinion, you know, as a landscape photographer, it's just easier. And that's not to say I want to avoid these types of landscapes, you know, woodland and some intimate photography, like I mentioned, I'd like to maybe try and find today. It's just something that I need to improve on, you know, myself, to be honest. It's a skill that I need to get better at if I want to enjoy photographing these sorts of landscapes. But no, this video was supposed to be all about, I suppose, going back to basics in a way, just enjoying the photography in like a chilled out way. And I feel like I have achieved that, and fingers crossed at least one of the waterfall shots came out all right. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to head back to the Blue Jay, get out of the rain and head on home for a nice cup of tea. But I thank you so much for tuning in and for your continued support. And I'll see you, as always, on the next adventure. Out.